Hello and welcome to episode 12 of the Retreadcast, the regular video podcast series for the Tyre Retreading Industry. Once again, I'm joined by my father, David Wilson, the publisher of Retreading Business, who will be able to tell us who we'll be talking to today. Hello, David. I understand today's podcast will take a slightly different approach to what we usually do.
Thank you, Richard. Yes, today we're very fortunate to be able to interview Vittorio Marangoni, CEO of the Marangoni Group, and we're going to talk to him about the specific issue of sustainability in the tyre and retreading sectors. And we'll be talking to him about what Marangoni is doing in order to highlight and optimise his company's role in the circular economy, as well as his views on how the opportunities that the increased focus on the green economy can offer the retreading industry in the future. We'll also be going over to the USA for one of our regular chats with David Stevens, the Managing Director of TRIB, the first time we've done so since the change of administration in the US.
Okay, well, those both sound like interesting interviews, and I'm sure they will capture the attention of our audience like always. So without any further ado, we'll start with part one of our interview with Vittorio Marangoni.
Today on the Retreadcast, we are focusing on the role of retreading in the circular economy, and we can think of few better companies to talk to about this than the Marangoni Group. And with that in mind, we're delighted to be able to speak to the group's CEO, Vittorio Marangoni. Vittorio, welcome to the Retreadcast and thank you for joining us today.
Hello, thank you very much.
It's a pleasure. Well, we're here to talk about the circular economy today. So let me begin by asking you, what opportunities does the increased interest in the circular economy offer the retreading industry? And what changes do you see in the global acceptance of retreading as an environmentally friendly product? And how does that differ around the world?
Okay, well, let me start. The circular economy is a paradigm that is pretty huge, and of course is going to impact all the industry. But in particular in the tire industry, I think that that should impact everyone, starting from the new tire producer. And new tire producer has to think better on the design of the product, and that will change the trend, pushing the new tire producer to make better tire with better quality, better durability, and in the end, better recyclability. That means also, first of all, retreadability, because in a circular process on the product, the first thing is try to reuse the product. So it's a natural evolution that has to be improved. And beside that, we have to notice that let me say, changing just the tread on a tire, of course, is undeniable that has a lower impact than trying to recycle the whole tire. So it would also always be the first choice. Then in the rest of the supply chain, I think there will be also a good impact on the retreaders. Basically, if I have to look in the world, I think there will be mainly two different paths. One is on the developing country where retreading is still or a small business that is growing, or a business that has still a good growth. And that will be consolidated. In a more mature country, retreading has been, toughened from crisis, from cheap Asian tires and all the rest in the last year. I think there will be a changement, because until now there were not great perspective in the industry. So that has stop investment, there was people were less optimistic, let me say. But of course, this changement, let me say, in global global concept that of course is changing right now, where we all need to have more concern about environment and try to develop different paradigms like circular economy to do that. Well, in this context, of course, retreading will have a brighter future. So new hope. So people will be entrepreneur will be more optimistic, and then I think that this will push starting back to make investment. And believe me, in retreading there is still a huge gap. So there is a big potential to make the industry more competitive, more automated, with a new business model. So I think that that will push to let us see a new retreading that will born.
Okay, so let's talk about Marangoni specifically. Particularly, I'd be interested to hear what Marangoni as a company is doing to help its free trader customers get the green economy message across to its fleet customers.
Okay, well, this is nothing new. We always do that. Now, let me say, is more important because it's help our customer to have good arguments and well, to improve their image. Anyway, the first approach is a direct approach. So dealing directly with our customer, we are trying to teach them what are the advantage of retrading. So well, what you can do, pushing in terms of mileage, efficiency, performance, and of course environmental aspect. So first of all is let me say this approach where we are trying to teach to our customer directly that. Then of course there is more wide approach that is based basically on communication campaign. We made in the past several communication campaign. Also, unbranded campaign like there was the Retread Instead campaign was made in the US, and we're targeting specifically all the advantage and also the things that are not always well understood from the people about trading. Well, so that's basically the wide approach. Of course, what I think it's more and more important than ever is to make this to make this message coming from how we deal with business. So if we talk about circular economy, we are talking about a process where the product at the end will come back to where it started. So I cannot just think to sell a good product and forget about it. So I need to have a more a more strict approach, it need to be nearer to the end user and to take responsibility about the product. So that's something we are doing directly in the business. So we are developing, for example, tire management service. That's the message. So I believe in that. I believe it so much that I can handle my product for all the world life.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the production side of your business. What is the group doing in its factories to embrace the green economy, would you say? What investments and changes are you introducing to make your factories greener?
Okay. Well, in that way, we are taking a more smart, let me say, smart approach. Everyone when they talk about making green investment, they think to big investment. I will cover the whole building with a photovoltaic or something like that. But I don't think this is the starting point. The starting point, like in tires, is the first point is to use in the right way your resources. So because where of course we do not have perfect efficiency, of course we are disposing resources. That's the first enemy to fight. So what we are investing in efficiency of process, of system, of our spaces. So our first target is using correctly our resource. And this approach, like I said, is the same approach we are using also on our product. So what I believe is that the first thing is to be sure that the tire get used in the right way, so have the longest life possible, and then I think to retread it. Because the first thing is to have a perfect use.
Okay, so let's talk about recycling, tyre recycling. Now, the Marangoni Group has involved itself in a limited fashion in the past with the tyre recycling sector. Are there any plans to become more involved in this sector in the future?
Well, let me say, we always have been involved on that, but there are different approach about recycling. We have an energy recovery process. So by now we take energy from the end life tire, and we directly use this energy in our production process. So that make it very effective. It's not something particularly innovative, but is very effective. Despite if you consider that at least in part tire, in a good part, tire are made from natural rubber, so at least in part they are renewable. But the point is not that. The point is that of course we are looking with interest at new technology for tire recycle. We are always thought about that, but the point is that I'm looking for a technology that allows to close the circularity of the supply chain. Because if I recycle the tire, making another product that at the end they will need to be disposed, not solve the problem. So I just postpone the problem. So that's basically our idea.
We'll be back very shortly with the second half of David's interview with Vittorio Marangoni. However, in the meantime, we're going to hop over to the USA for one of our regular updates with David Stevens, the Managing Director of TRIB. Hello, David. It's good to talk to you again. Welcome back and Happy New Year.
Same to you, Richard. Good to see you guys again.
Brilliant. Well, I have to say quite a few things have happened in your part of the world since the last time we spoke. It's been quite an eventful start to 2021 in the United States. We've seen some things that we thought and hoped we would never see, but now, thank goodness, we've seen ultimately peaceful transition to the new administration under President Biden. What has been the reaction of your members to the occurrences of the last month, and what are they looking and hoping for from the new government?
Well, I think, wherever you are on the political spectrum, I think our members, first and foremost, want stability. So, all the uncertainty that existed for the last few months around the transition and what was going to happen, what administration was going to be in place, I think more importantly is just to have sort of that set now, and so that we can move forward based upon who we have as president and what some of those plans are within that person's administration. So that's the first most important thing, is that we get that stability and understanding, and so that we can plan for it. I think, there's a lot of questions around and concerns, how quickly can the economy recover here in the US? We just most recently had our latest jobs report, and it was weaker than a lot of people expected. So it's, trying to understand, well, what economic policies, what relief, the COVID relief efforts that can happen through the US political system that can continue to get the economy back to where it should be, which then ultimately releases all of those other areas of retreading, to continue to come back to where it was, and hopefully bigger than it was pre-pandemic. Obviously on the commercial truck side, we have been pretty strong because of all of the things that are happening from a delivery standpoint, and the businesses that are staying open. And retreading and all the industries that support retreading were deemed essential businesses in the US. So they've been able to stay open and been able to, depending on what industry they're supporting, perform pretty well, much better than other places and industries such as, school buses or, some of the construction and OTR, a little bit more challenging to operate in. So I think the guys that retread in those segments are looking for, continued improved vaccine rollout, and then continually improving economy that sort of gets us back to where we want to be.
Absolutely. And one thing which is very pleasing to see is President Biden's commitment to the environment, which is fantastic from a retreading perspective, and especially from a perspective of sustainability. It's also particularly good to see the speed at which the US has joined the Paris Climate Agreement, but also actions such as the executive order that has encouraged the federal government to switch to electric vehicles. So with all that in mind, what opportunities do you foresee for the retreading industry given this new green approach?
Yeah, I think, I'm definitely a silver linings person, and I hope most of our members are. The environmental aspect can be a double-edged sword for some of the retreaders, because, they worry about increased regulations that might, complicate their business. But at the same time, they're very environmentally focused businesses. So, whether it's dealing with buffing dust or working, to increase solar power generation within the plants, making sure that they're recycling in responsible ways, the operations themselves are always very environmentally friendly. And then I think on the very positive side of that is looking at, potential for increased adoption of retreaded tires through encouragement, education, and possibly even mandates by the government. So if in one step, the Biden administration is saying, look, our entire fleet of government vehicles is going to be electric. For me, the logical next step is to say, well, all of those vehicles should be running on retreaded tires. And how do we make that happen? And then I think that can extend to other places. We're right in the middle of a project with the state of California right now to increase adoption of retreaded tires there. And hopefully we can take some of the education and learnings that we get from that and be able to apply it to some of the efforts that we'd be working on with the US government. As you guys know, and hopefully most of your readers and viewers know, I mean, retreading is the original green industry, and there's not really anything that's more environmentally sustainable than a retreaded tire. And so we're going to do what we can to educate the people in those decision-making positions about the environmental impacts of retreading, and then how we can influence the policies that go to try and increase the adoption of retreaded tires. And yeah, I think this administration compared to the previous administration is going to be a lot more open to the discussions about the environmental impacts of retreading and how we can take advantage of that.
Brilliant. Well, thanks as always for your insights. It's been great to catch up with you. I look forward to doing the same again very soon, and hopefully it will not be in this virtual world we continue to talk in. But now we're going to move on. We're going to move on to our interview with part 2 with Vittorio Marangoni.
Okay, so let's move on to products. And I wanted to talk specifically about the process of developing new products. What are you doing in terms of introducing more environmentally friendly products in the future?
Well, in terms of developments, like I said, in this industry there is a lot to do, and in several fields, not just limited to product, but also there is a lot to do about technology. Anyway, of course, the first field is compounds. Everyone is working on compounds. We are working too on compounds. Basically, let me say, I want to be very synthetic because otherwise it will be a very long discussion, but basically we are looking to develop more durable and less, with a lower rolling resistance trend. So we are doing that. To do that, we are also studying the impact of rolling resistance of casing. So we have an equipment, we call it the railroad, the same name in English. Anyway, it's an equipment to testing tire. We have this equipment certified by TRIB, so we are using that to test new tires, but actually we are using that to test also casing, and basically we want to analyze the difference on rolling resistance of the casing with and without the tread. So basically to isolate the impact of different tread on different casing to develop better rolling resistant product. Another point, I think where there is more space of improvement is technology. On technology, we are working a lot because there is a lot to do on process, not just in automation, but of course also in the interconnection of process. So of course I'm talking about the industry 4.0. But let me say, I think there is a good margin to do something very interesting. Of course, this is the main job of our subsidiary that's called TRM, and there we are developing a new machine for the retreading process and new, let me say, integrated production system for retreading. And the last field where, of course, we are working and where I think there is big potential is on software. It's something new. No one was thinking to software, for directly like a product. They always, everyone was thinking about software, services, but right now it's something very interesting, and of course is inevitable to work on data analysis, and that has a huge impact in the use of the product, and that of course is the first way to analyze and to optimize the utilization of tires. So more data we can collect, better application. So better is the choosing of the right tire for the right application. And so, like a consequence, their durability. But of course, this is something that has potential also in the whole processing activity of retreading. So also in the factory, we will have a huge impact. Just for making an example, on the analysis of casing, you can have a lot of advantage using that. So let me say, basically, these are the three main topics.
That's very interesting. So, in addition to this, what other activities is the group currently involved in, or are there any other areas you plan to become involved in order to increase the group's contribution to the circular economy?
Okay. Well, just to think about the concept, of course, will be. I will not decline all the development I talk about, but I want to make understand what's the main target or concept behind that. So basically, the point is that circular economy need more services, need the more to be nearest to the end user. So what we have to do, what we are doing, is to develop more product and services that are dedicated to the end user. So that are designed to help to be more involved with the end user. So that's basically the idea. Then it is not an issue which player in the supply chain has to do that, but the point is that that has need to be done. So that's the idea. So starting from the design of the product, like I said, it's a product that has to have a better durability, to have to be studied better for the application that for which is dedicated, and from of course the world services that are behind, data, software, information that help the retrader or the service provider to give some advantage to the end user, to help the end user to use better the product. So basically, this is the point. Then, of course, there are also, let me say, we are moving also in collateral ways that are not dedicated vertically in our industry, but in a horizontal way. We are experimenting a lot sharing economy. So, like I said, we are pushing in the efficient use of our resources. That means also, of course, where you cannot use your resources because you don't need it, or you don't need it in that specific moment, try to make a better separation of that. So we are doing that, experimenting sharing economy. We are sharing several services in our company. Basically, one service that is very interesting is research and development, for example. So when our R&D services are not working for us, we are using them in different fields, of course, always in the rubber industry, but different field. Does not need to be connected to Tyre, but competence are very similar. So, and that is an enrichment for us, and of course is a big advantage for who need that and don't want to make big investment to develop or all the lab or finding the people that have the right competence.
Okay, so let's move on to a subject that I've talked about with just about everybody I've interviewed this year, and that is, of course, the issue of the COVID-19 pandemic. It's made us reassess a lot of the things that we do in business. Will this change in procedures accelerate the speed at which we take on board activities that make us become greener, do you think? And if so, in what ways?
Okay, well, of course, has changed all our lifestyle, I think. So we'll not talk about how our life is changing because everyone knows. But what has happened in our industry is very interesting because, of course, now we are using more information technology, and basically we are moving less. But there was a trend, and this trend was started before COVID-19, but COVID-19 has pushed this trend forward, in which people were moving less and goods were moving more. So now it's extremized because everyone is at home, so only goods have to move. And that, of course, is changing completely how we concept the mobility. So, before people were taking their car and go to, the mall, buy things. Now they all stay home, and there is a very huge logistic behind the e-commerce that has to deliver the goods at home. So this is pushing a lot all the logistic, and with that also the truck logistic where we are involved. And of course, that is making even more important to work on sustainable mobility. So I think retreading is more important than ever.
Yeah, absolutely. So finally, we're obviously delighted that Marangoni has agreed to become the trophy sponsor for the inaugural Recircle Awards. What has been your impression of the award so far, and what is your advice and suggestions to us to move the awards forward in the future, become larger, bigger, and better?
Okay, well, I want to thank you very much, because I think it's a very interesting initiative. I think that well, in this industry, we really need someone that loves it.
Absolutely.
We were starting, feeling some time alone. we need someone that loves us. No, I think that retreading need to be rediscovered, because everyone, love things that are new, startup, innovative business, and so on. But retreading, because it is a business that has always been done, is something old, has no fashion, no one care about. But this is not true, because times are changing, and of course, yes, retreading is an old business, but need to be rediscovered, and their core value are it came from afar, but have never been so actual like now. So I really want to thank you, because I think it's an interesting initiative, and it helps us to remember that. What I would like, to maybe suggest for the next time is, like I said, circular economy is something different. Like I said, retreading will reborn, so future retreading will be different from what we know from the past. And looking to circular economy business, we need to think to a more circular supply chain. So that means that we need also to make part to participate all the players in this supply chain, and especially the player that are nearest to the end user, like for example, a service provider. That's because, of course, in this process, service is strategic, and so it's a new player, but it's a player that is gaining part of this supply chain. So we need also to take a look to services.
Well, thank you very much for that. I agree with you there. I mean, obviously, looking at the whole of the supply chain is something that we'd want to do a little more in the future events, and we certainly would like to cover the whole of the circular economy as it relates to the tyre sector. So, Vittorio, your views on the circular economy and on the market are always fascinating to listen to. So thank you very much for your time today, and we look forward to seeing you on the Retreadcast again very soon.
Thank you very much to you. It's been a pleasure, and look forward to I hope to see you again and not just hear you, you know.
Absolutely, yeah, I look forward to that.
Well, that was certainly a fascinating insight into Marangoni's approach to the growing focus on the circular economy. I'm sure we'll be seeing many more interviews in the future from the other leading companies in the sector dealing with the same issues. In the meantime, that's all for this edition of the Retreadcast. If you've enjoyed the Retreadcast and our videos on YouTube, please do not forget to like and subscribe to us. We hope you've enjoyed today's episode, and we look forward to welcoming you back soon. Until then, stay safe.